What if I told you that the best negotiators in the world never try to win by arguing? They don't try to meet in the middle, either. In fact, they do the exact opposite. Today, we're breaking down Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, a former top FBI hostage negotiator. You're about to learn how to negotiate with confidence, whether you're talking salary, closing a business deal, or just navigating daily conversations. Let's be honest, negotiation sounds scary to most of us. We imagine it's about being aggressive, a genius with numbers, or having all the power. But Chris Voss flips this idea on its head and shows us something truly surprising. Negotiation isn't about logic first. It's all about emotions. Chris spent years negotiating with some of the most dangerous people on the planet: criminals, kidnappers, and terrorists. If his techniques can work in life or death situations, just imagine how powerful they can be in your office, your business, or even at home with your family. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the core ideas of his book, explaining them simply and clearly so you can start using them right away. Let's get started. The first massive idea in this book is this: humans are emotional, not rational creatures. We like to think we make decisions based on facts and logic, but the truth is, emotions are what drive us. Most people walk into a negotiation armed with spreadsheets and logical arguments. But if emotions are what truly control decisions, then numbers alone won't get you very far. So, the goal becomes incredibly simple. First, you need to understand the other person's emotions. Only after you do that can you begin to influence the outcome. This is why Chris Voss repeats this mantra. Before you even try to change someone's mind, you have to make them feel completely heard. To do this, Chris introduces a powerful concept called tactical empathy. Now, this does not mean you have to agree with the other person or that you think they're right. It simply means understanding how they feel and, more importantly, why they feel that way. Think about it. When people feel like you genuinely understand their perspective, they start to relax. Their defenses come down. And when they relax, they start to listen to what you have to say. For instance, instead of starting a conflict by saying, "You are wrong," you can shift the entire dynamic by saying something like, "It seems like you're under a lot of pressure right now." This simple change instantly lowers resistance and opens the door for a real conversation. Now, one of the easiest and most effective techniques in the book is called mirroring. It's so simple, you can start using it today. Mirroring just means repeating the last 1 to 3 important words the other person said, but in a calm, inquisitive tone. Let me give you an example. Imagine your colleague says, "This deadline is absolutely impossible." Instead of arguing, you simply mirror them. You say, "Impossible." And then you wait. That's it. Just one word. This small action does something incredible. It encourages the other person to elaborate, to explain their thinking, and to give you more information. It makes them feel heard and validated without you having to say much at all. Mirroring works beautifully in work meetings, job interviews, and even tense family discussions. Another key skill is labeling. This is where you proactively name the emotion you sense from the other person. You're essentially holding up a mirror to their feelings. For example, you might say, "It sounds like you're really frustrated with this process," or "It seems like you're worried about the risk involved." Here's the magic part. Even if you're not 100% correct, people will still appreciate that you're trying to understand them. They might correct you, which gives you even more insight. Once an emotion is labeled and brought out into the open, it tends to lose its intensity. This is an extremely useful tool, especially when tensions are running high and the conversation feels stuck. Most of us are terrified of hearing the word no. We see it as a failure, a rejection, the end of the road. But Chris Voss says something revolutionary. No is not the end. It's often the beginning of the real negotiation. When people say no, they feel safe. They feel like they are in control of the situation. So, instead of trying to trap people into saying yes, Chris suggests asking questions that are designed to invite a no. For instance, instead of asking, "Do you have a few minutes to talk?" try asking, "Is this a bad time to talk?" Instead of "Would you be willing to give me a discount?" try, Would it be unreasonable to ask for a discount? This phrasing makes the other person feel comfortable and in charge, which encourages them to be more honest and open with you. This leads us to another one of Chris's favorite tools, calibrated questions. These are open-ended questions that usually start with how or what. These questions are brilliant because they make the other person solve your problem for you. Instead of making demands, you're inviting collaboration. For example, if someone gives you an impossible task, instead of saying, "I can't do that," you ask, "How am I supposed to do that?" Or if you're facing a complex issue, you can ask, "What's the biggest challenge you see here?" Notice how you're not attacking or being confrontational. You're inviting them to think with you. This masterfully shifts the pressure away from a you versus me dynamic and puts it onto the situation itself. So, let's talk about the title of the book, Never Split the Difference. It sounds counterintuitive, right? We're always taught that compromise is a good thing, but Chris Voss argues that splitting the difference often leads to bad deals for everyone involved. Why? Because simply meeting in the middle can reward someone for making an unreasonable or extreme initial demand. Instead of blindly compromising, he suggests using all the techniques we've discussed: tactical empathy, mirroring, labeling to guide the negotiation toward a better outcome. You anchor your position smartly and use emotional intelligence to find a solution in the real world. The best deal isn't always the mathematical midpoint. It's the point where both sides feel like they've been understood and treated with respect. A truly great negotiator doesn't try to dominate the conversation. Instead, they guide it by asking the right calibrated questions and, most importantly, listening carefully to the answers. You give the other person the illusion of control. And when people feel they are in control, they open up, share information, and become more cooperative. This principle works exceptionally well in leadership, management, sales, and customer service. You're not tricking them. You're creating an environment where a collaborative solution can be found. And remember, these techniques aren't just for high-stakes business deals or hostage situations. You can use them every single day. You can use them when you're asking for a salary raise at work, when you're trying to close a sales deal, or when you're managing a team. They're just as effective for handling conflicts within your family or negotiating your rent with your landlord. Negotiation is a part of almost every human interaction. This book gives you the tools to handle those moments calmly and confidently. So, what's the biggest lesson from Never Split the Difference? It's surprisingly simple. Listen more than you talk. Focus on understanding emotions before you start throwing around logic. And learn to ask better questions instead of feeling like you need to have all the answers. Negotiation is not a fight to be won. It's a conversation to be navigated. If you want to master negotiation skills that actually work in the real world, this book is an absolute must-read. I highly recommend you pick up a copy of Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. We've dropped an Amazon link in the description below. It is one of the most practical, powerful, and immediately applicable books you will ever read. If you found this summary helpful, please give this video a like, share it with a friend who could use it, and subscribe to our channel for more book summaries just like this one. Thanks for watching, and always remember, the best negotiators don't argue, they listen.